who you're representing here today. So, Mr. Warnick.
Okay. Yep. This is Jeff Warnock with Game Changer Athletics, representing the Michelle family.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Thanks.
Ryan Duber.
Yeah, hi, this is Ryan. I'm representing the Michelle's as their architect.
Okay, great. Welcome. Um, is it Ryan Michelle then? Is that right?
Yes, Ryan Michelle, and I'm representing the Michelles.
Are you the Hooper or is it someone else? I guess a Hooper. I thought I saw a basketball hoop somewhere in this, but um, we'll save that till we get to the substance of the hearing. How about that? Trey Sheldon from the zoning department. Welcome.
Afternoon,
All
everyone.
right. What's that?
I said good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon. Okay. And yeah, by Hooper, I meant like you are the owner of the home, correct?
This is
Yeah.
true.
Okay. All right. I need to read through our hearing script, which will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get right into it. So this is the November 1st, 2023 session of this zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'll be presiding over the hearing. Case before us today is case number ZH20230153. That's 5 Stanley Lane. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, that can mean any three of the gentlemen here on behalf of the application. So one of you can speak about it, all of you can speak about it. Just want to hear about the project, any background you think is important, the scope, and of course, why you think that this requested relief is actually appropriate and why I should grant it. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after you all had presented. But I don't think that we have anyone here from the public. If someone from the public does join midway through the hearing, I'll allow them to speak after you presented. I'll then turn it over to the zoning department and Trey Sheldon to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument against the application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony or argument that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know that you'd like to provide something today, I'm going to just collectively swear all those people in now. If you're not sure, I can always swear you in later. But if you know you'd like to offer something, if you could go ahead and raise your right hand, need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. Trey, I'm having a little trouble with your audio. I've noticed.
I was still on mute. I did.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's better. All right, cool. Who's going to be taking the lead here for us on the applicant's presentation?
I'd be happy to.
Floor is yours.
I assume you've read through all the documents that we provided. So I'll just give a brief summary. Basically, the Michelles approached me because they had an existing pool, in-ground pool that was on the hillside, and a pool house that we then considered options of whether to keep the pool or not. And they decided that they'd have more value out of infilling the pool and then building a sport court basically over top of that. And then we were renovating the porch as well to facilitate that use group, as well as just protect it and upgrade it. So that's been approved already by the city. And the only thing that's was sort of something that was outside of zoning was the height of the fence, basically to maintain the use of the sport court and keep balls in there and just have it be able to facilitate all the different sports functions that they'd like to do for that investment that they're making.
Okay. Great. Mr. Warnock or Mr. Michelle?
I think
Anything you
that's
wanted to add?
the straightforward to it. Maybe I would also say that the pool did not become an option to refigure when we called number of people and they did due to the unique location on the property and the property itself. No one wanted to service it. So we were like, okay, we'd still love to use it. It's a beautiful, unique property. And you'll see from the application that it's located on a unique part of the hillside where our neighbors can't even really see it. So we thought this would be a good alternative use for the space, given that we have 5 children, a future son-in-law who is a baller, and this would be a great thing to put down there. So yeah, and the fence absolutely we think is necessary for protecting all of those kids and neighbors who want to play there.
In regard to that, just a quick question. So is there a drop off on the other side of this proposed fence? Is that like that
Yes.
it could present some danger?
Not a drop off, just a steep, basically a pretty steep decline down to a natural watershed. And you can kind of see that on sheet 4 of the submission for the drawings. Part of that.
Okay, I'm just pulling those up. All right. And I think you covered another question that I was going to have, just in terms of the visibility for neighboring property owners or any adverse visual impacts. Is there absolutely none, or what are they, if any?
I tried to include some photographs of the site, but it's, the actual court itself, from the, I guess, Stanley Lane is a dead end, basically a property with 5 houses there. The driveway elevation is the difference from where the sport court is to that is almost 30 feet down. So you can't see it at all from the front street. It's pretty heavily wooded on basically 3 sides, I would say, and all the other houses are at the same kind of elevation as the Michelle's house. So it's really kind of tucked in there. It is the only flat area really of their property, so it's ideal that they would be able to use it for this, since it's all mainly hillside. So does that answer your question?
It does. Yep. Thank you. All right, let's go over to Trey Sheldon, unless Mr. Warnock, you wanted to add anything.
I could just add a few things as far as like how a 10-foot high fence how it impacts sports, because that's what our company does. We build courts, and 10 feet high really is kind of the industry standard that is needed for the sports applications the Michelles are looking to play. With the wooded area on the backside, with if the fence were to be shorter, there'd be lots of balls just going back in that area. I mean, this is just it's gonna, from a safety standpoint, just having to walk down and into that area where I'm sure there's probably poison ivy and who knows what back there. This is gonna make things a lot easier for the usability of the space, and Ryan also alluded to it. Just from a visibility standpoint, there's really it's not very visible to any of the neighbors in the neighboring properties.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of get a sense of that from some of the satellite images here. Okay, great. And is it black chain link? Is that the design of the fence?
Yes.
Okay. Trey?
Yeah, David, as you're seeing, if you're looking at aerial images, as Mr. Duber indicated, it's about 33 or so feet or 30 some feet from the level of the house, the dwelling down to this former area of the pool. We also just FYI viewed that as a demolition. There's not any cutting into the actual normal hillside for that. They just infilled the pool. They punched holes in the bottom of it and infilled it with what used to be basically the decking around it, and tamped it down. So anyhow, further from that terrace that's been there for decades, probably 75 years or more, from that terrace, what I'm referring to as the flat area where the pool was and where the sport court is going, it's probably another 50 plus feet down into a ravine in the back that goes between there and Missouri Avenue. In fact, you and I, we've had some recent cases, as you may recall, of houses being built on Missouri over there, and it's just a heavily wooded area, mature trees and so on down in that ravine. And I noted that it's about 175 feet from the sport court to the bottom of the ravine, and then most of the houses on the other side, as you may recall from other hearings there, it's another good 75 to, no, actually 100, I'm looking at it now, 100 or more feet from the bottom of the ravine, then up to the back of those other dwellings. So we're talking 275 feet minimum of wooded area between there. So as they pointed out, that's a black fence, so I don't think it'll be even noticeable to someone practically even in the wintertime. And the other parts of the year, it's just not going to be visible at all. I don't think. I also would note, you already see it in the record, but they obtained, the owner obtained a recommendation of approval for this relief from the owners of 1 Stanley Lane, 2, 3, and 4 Stanley Lane. They did not obtain signatures from the folks all the way, as I said, like up to 275 to 300 feet away on Missouri. But any of the most immediately affected neighbors who are surrounding and have adjacent properties to the sides have most of those properties have signed off on it, and they've provided written documentation of that. So I didn't find any adverse effects here. Obviously, this is a variance, not a it's not, even though it's in the hillside, it's not a hillside related matter. It has to do with fence height, and so using the variance standards, it's compatible with the neighborhood. There are some other sport courts around there, lots of swimming pools, which don't have 10-foot tall fences, but they are fenced, and it's common for somebody to have such an amenity. In this particular instance, where I just figured most of the houses around there didn't have an existing terraced area like that, where it'd even be feasible to put a decent sized sports court and terrace, because most of it's pretty continuous hillside. So I took it to mean that way, that a lot of the dwellings don't have this because there's nowhere to put it, and they just happen to have a viable place to place this feature. So I couldn't find any adverse effects that would be notable. I believe you're not using any lighting or anything like that. Going to be at night. I don't see any poles or anything, lighting poles described on there.
There will be some lighting. It wasn't indicated on these drawings, but the lighting will be going towards the home from the fence, not obviously towards the Missouri side.
Okay, just an FYI, to meet the zoning code, you need to have that heavily shielded and directed to minimize glare away from the neighboring properties. If you're just having it to the top of the fence, then you're only going to be at 10 feet. The standard is 20. I would encourage you, just for not disturbing the neighbors, to stick with that 10 if they're going to be mounted to the fence. And so that's something that you probably, in following up here, if that's going to be on part of the plan set, you might want to, if you're coming in for plans for that, you may want to do that as an engineering change or something. I don't know, but if you are running electric out there and putting those on there, we'll have to check with the building plan examiner whether they need any kind of permitting for that. But it might be an engineering change that you have to do in order to put it once the fence is installed. Obviously, you can't install the lighting until the fence is installed. So, well, thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't see it anywhere in the plan, so I made the assumption it was not going to be.
Yeah, but Trey, from a zoning perspective, as long as it's shielded, directed away from neighboring properties, and does not exceed, is it is the
20
height
feet.
20 feet technically?
Yeah, and here it's gonna be
Yeah.
10 apparently, so I think
Yeah.
they should be fine. Just please make sure it's
Okay.
directed completely away from the neighbors. So a lot of sports lighting, Mr. Warner probably knows this more than any of us here, but a lot of the new LED lighting is very directed, and it's not the kind of like halogen stuff that used to Friday night lights, light up the whole area around even at many football stadiums and soccer stadium, at soccer fields. We're finding they have much more, simple directed LED light that doesn't glare all the way out. So if y'all can use something like that, I would recommend that.
Okay. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report on this. Going back to the applicants and owner, anything else you'd like to say in closing or otherwise, or in response to Trey's comments before we adjourn? Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that. I agree with the arguments that you've made and with the analysis from the zoning department. I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this project. And so based on that and based on my review of the application materials and the staff report, I am going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody in the hearing here. So you all have it really just moments after it's complete. I'll try and get that to you as quickly as I can, hopefully knowing that the approval will be granted. Maybe it can give you the opportunity to take some next steps. But as soon as you have that PDF email from me, Trey can actually approve the zoning permitting on his end. So hopefully you can move forward at that time. And I echo what Trey's sentiments there. It's nice to have the neighbor support. If you want to lose that support and get lots of complaints, install shoddy lighting that causes adverse visual impacts for the neighbors, it will be a problem. So make sure you're up to code and try to be as considerate as possible, because those are complaints we often get. But otherwise, seems like a great project. Wish you the best. Hope you have a lot of fun out there. And that's it. Have a great day, guys. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about the process, or if you'd like a status update on the decision.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great one. We're adjourned.